College football playoff rankings just got dropped. This was kind of it. This is kind of it. It sucked a lot of the drama, not all of it, but a lot of the drama out of next Sunday, I guess it would be. So here's the situation. There was a lot of talk. There was a lot of arguing and just bickering and fighting and accusations, hurtful accusations being thrown around based on what your opinion was of where South Carolina was going to fall, Miami was going to fall, Ole Miss was going to fall, Alabama was going to fall. So now we know. They just dropped. If you're watching live and you've been living your life, you're just getting off work, it's a good news if you're an Alabama fan. It's terrible news if you're a South Carolina, Ole Miss, or Miami fan, because the latter three are out. You are not going to go to the playoff. I have no idea how you would go to the playoff. So South Carolina's done as far as the playoff is concerned. Ole Miss, done as far as the playoff is concerned. I would think Miami is done as far as the playoff is concerned. I listened to Ward Manuel and what he said. I'm always careful, though. The whole never say never. Alabama is in if some stuff happens. Like one thing I think needs to happen for them. So there was a lot of really nasty, vitriolic conversation about this week, which I both participated in and laughed at. You guys who follow me on socials saw a lot of this. I want to preface all this with, this is a playoff I didn't want. So I'm not getting too worked up about whether you're the 13 seed or the 12 seed. If you're even in that conversation, then you have long since removed your right to really hardcore lobby. That was long ago. When you were a one-loss team or a two-loss team, that's when you could do that. If you're a three-loss team and you're in, great. If you're out, oh well. But I was never going to allow myself to be sucked into the blank and it's not even close. And I was looking at a lot of that. I was looking at folks telling me South Carolina should be in and it's not even close. Alabama should be in and it's not even close. Ton of Miami and it's not even close. It's close. Are you people crazy? Of course it's close. If you've lost 2 or 3 games, and in Miami's case, if you've lost a couple of games, but then you got by the skin of your teeth against Virginia Tech and Cal, I mean, you blew a 21-point lead 5 minutes ago. Yes, it's close. And in the end, or the semi-end, the committee has decided out of all that, out of all the wreckage, they're going to pluck Alabama. Okay, that's the way I would have guessed it would have gone. I don't have a massive issue with it. A lot of people, when I've done radio hits recently, they've said, okay, but who would you pick? I did 2 live hits with Cannell today. What am I doing? I need a secretary. That's what I need. Anyway, I did 2 different hits with Cannell today, and they were asking back and forth, forget about the committee. If you were putting teams in the playoff based on your own criteria, who would be in? Well, I wouldn't have Bama in. I'd have Ole Miss in over all of them, because there is a part of me, it's way back here in the back of my mind, there's a part of me that still thinks Ole Miss at their best is better than all those teams. So I'd have Ole Miss in for whatever that's worth, but they're not going to be in. I did find it interesting as we monitored FanDuel, as we looked at the way the odds were shifting today. I updated it several times today on my socials because there was a lot of money that came in on Bama today. And when I say money that came in, I mean FanDuel was offering yes, no. Will this team make the playoff? So Bama went from minus 140 to minus 260 or 280 or 300 a day. So a fair amount of money came in on Bama. But throughout the day, South Carolina love waned and Miami love ticked up a little bit. I think that probably coincided with Mario Cristobal doing some really, really good work on TV. I saw him on SportsCenter when I was in the gym earlier today. But I was very curious about why Ole Miss was nowhere to be found. So as recently as a few hours ago, you guys probably saw me fighting for my, my well-being and my sanity and my good reputation on Twitter with folks coming at me saying, it's your fault. People like you, I got the you people tag on me. You people are the reason why Ole Miss is not involved in the conversation. And I tried to respond, hey, bud, I'm higher on Ole Miss than anyone is. Me of all people, I am the least of your worries in this particular situation. What I have been doing is I've been reacting to the odds market. The odds market said Ole Miss had no shot, and I was reacting accordingly. What I found interesting is, for some reason, South Carolina had better odds than Ole Miss did. I didn't think there was a world where South Carolina was ever going to be ranked above Ole Miss because there was a definitive head-to-head. I mean, a definitive in South Carolina's home stadium head-to-head data point. So when was that ever going to happen? But the odds market was saying, oh, South Carolina's got a shot. Ole Miss got no shot. Well, Now neither of them have much of a shot. But I was just curious because sure enough, the committee ranked Ole Miss ahead of South Carolina tonight, which indicates South Carolina was never in this. But there was a groundswell. I was part of it because I think South Carolina is a really good team. But I think Ole Miss is a good team. So theoretically, I should have been part of their odds being inflated. I don't know how that worked. So a couple of thoughts here. I got a problem with the way I got a problem with auto bids, period. I've got a problem with the way that this buy structure is going to work. The 4 highest ranked conference champs get buys and whatnot. And once upon a time, people took that to mean, okay, the Power 4 is going to get a bye and the G5 will get the 12th seed. You remember in summer when you were mapping out the way you thought the playoff would go, including me, that's how we mapped it out. It's not the way it's working out. I'm telling you, that committee removed a lot of the guesswork tonight. If Boise State beats UNLV, they will get a first-round bye in the playoffs. I think it's ridiculous, but they will get a first-round bye. And I think it's ridiculous not because I got anything against Spencer Danielson or that team. Got immense respect for that team. You are not meeting the minimum baseline requirement strength of schedule, playing at that level, to me, to warrant you getting a first-round bye. That's always been a belief I've had even since before the expanded playoff, blah, blah, blah. But for those who have been asking, okay, if the Big 12 champion, Arizona State, for example, if they win, will they jump Boise if they're the Mountain West champion? They won't. They won't. Here's how I know. Paper pop. The cake is already baked. The committee told you tonight, Boise is sitting at number 10. They play number 20 Saturday. So if they win that game, you really think they're going to drop below number 15, who plays number 16 Saturday? They both have comparably ranked opponents this Saturday in their conference title games, and one of them's ranked 10th right now, and the other one's ranked 15th. 15's not jumping above 10. The only way to do that would be to wipe the slate totally clean, and then just someone in the room's got to say, yeah, we gotta bump Power 4 team ahead. We got to do that. And if they were going to do that, if there was even a chance of that happening in the room, they would have made it muddier than this. They didn't. So Boise, if they win Saturday, not only are they in the playoff, obviously, they're going to have a first-round bye. It's ridiculous, but it's the way it is. So the Big 12 needs UNLV. Because UNLV and Barry Odom, they can win that thing. They can win the Mountain West, and they'll go to the playoff, but they would not get a first-round bye because they're down there at 20. So that would require them to jump over the Big 12's champ because either team can win the Big 12, and they're both ranked above UNLV right now. There is, on a related note, no way this format can continue. Reese Davis pointed it out earlier tonight. I think everyone is starting to realize it, but it, in fairness, should never have taken this long. Look at this format right now. Now, this is projected based on the rankings as they were released tonight. There's no way they can let this formula and they can let this format continue. Auto bids, to me, as a practice, are a joke. I don't think anyone should be guaranteed anything. I just love to give the top 4 buys no matter who they are or where they're from. It could be 4 SEC teams. It could be 4 ACC teams for all I care. The best 4 in the country, give them a bye. If you want to guarantee conference champs spots, period, go ahead. But guaranteeing them first-round buys, reserving those top 4 seeds just for conference champs, I know what you're trying to do. You are failing. You're cutting off your nose to spite your face. It's a very penny-wise, pound-foolish approach to putting together a viable postseason format. Let me tell you why I think that. Look at what we're faced with in round 1. So FanDuel just hit us up moments ago. If Penn State loses the Big Ten championship game, and they're a 3.5-point dog in that game against Oregon. If they lose, they drop theoretically to the 5 seed. You see them right there on the top of your screen. They would play Arizona State in central Pennsylvania in the 3rd week of December. I was at Penn State yesterday. It sucks up there right now. And I'm not from Tempe, Arizona, although I am from Harris County, Georgia, which is frequently referred to as the Tempe of West Central Georgia. Arizona State would go up there and, according to FanDuel, be an 11.5-point dog. I imagine money would come in on Penn State. If Penn State wins that, they go play Boise State in the next round, a team they would also be significantly favored over. Meanwhile, Oregon, their prize for winning the Big Ten would be a first-round bye, but they get either Tennessee or Ohio State in the second round. I know what's happening because we talked about this every week. I know what's happening. A lot of folks are already cooking up that take, a lot of them already stretching their typing fingers to remind me that getting a bye in the first round is worth more than anything. No, it's worth more than almost anything. It's worth a lot, but it's not worth more than anything. I promise you it's not. Case in point, if you got a couple of teams teed up that you're going to be significant favorites against, it ain't worth more than that. It is not. And we've seen example after example of this kind of situation crop up just in projected formats, just in projected brackets. So oh, by the way, Jesse, do me a favor. Never mind, I've got him. Put user in timeout. I can't believe me, of all people, I had to ban someone in the live chat. Pathetic. So, I hate the format. I hate's a strong word, especially this time of year. I don't like the format. So those FanDuel odds, by the way, I wanted to give these to you right quick. Arizona State at Penn State. Penn State minus 11.5. Bama at Notre Dame. So these are the projected first-round games right now, and FanDuel immediately hits us with what their projected lines would be on these games. Bama, a 3.5-point dog in South Bend. Jalen Milroe in 15-degree weather. Bama, a 3.5-point dog. Indiana at Georgia. Georgia, 12.5-point favorite. Tennessee at Ohio State. Tennessee, a 9-point dog in Columbus. So the Buckeyes favored by over a touchdown. And I just told you, I'll tell you again, Arizona State at Penn State would be Penn State minus 11.5. Some more thoughts here. The only drama really looks to be what happens in this ACC championship game this Saturday. So SMU, we're going to break the game down later. SMU plays against Clemson in Charlotte. There is a lot of question about what the committee would do if Clemson wins this game. The line on the game is 2.5. I believe right now SMU is favored by 2.5. So it's really close. Figures to be really competitive. Yeah, there it was. It was on the screen in front of me. So if Clemson loses, if SMU wins, it's done. SMU makes it. Alabama's in the playoff. Let's go. If Clemson beats SMU, what happens to them? There's a lot of question out there. Would the committee drop them out of the rankings entirely, which means Alabama goes? Or would the committee bump Clemson in because they just won the conference, but keep SMU in, which essentially means SMU makes it, Bama doesn't? And that really boils down to an SMU versus Alabama debate. And SMU would be punished immensely for being in their conference championship game in that scenario. I'm against that. So I will tell you now, if SMU plays Clemson and they lose, and SMU is already not just in the top 12, but in the top 10, there's no world where they should fall behind Alabama. Shouldn't happen. They shouldn't fall out of the top 12 because Bama's sitting at home this Saturday. They might as well be Notre Dame. They're not playing in the conference title game. And you guys always used to complain about that. Remember, everyone from the South, everyone from the Big Ten, you guys have always complained that theoretically Notre Dame could sit there and kick their feet up while you got to go play a conference title game. Well, now you're in that situation. Now you didn't get the job done against Oklahoma. You got skull-drug in Norman, so you're sitting at home, and SMU's going to play because they earned the right to do that, and they're ranked above you already. There's no world where they should fall behind you. Now that's should. That's me talking. Will they? I don't think so, but there is one thought that I always have in my mind, and that is a few years ago. It was actually 2014. It was the first year, I think, of the playoff. Ohio State was thought to be on the outside looking in going into that Saturday. They play Wisconsin in the Big Ten title game. The point spread is like 3 or something like that. Ohio State wins by 50. I mean, they just blow Wisconsin's doors off. And I remember the talk shifted that day so quickly from Ohio State's not in to you can't keep Ohio State out. Now, this is not an apples-to-apples thing, but it kind of is. Because there is a scenario I could see Saturday where Clemson plays SMU. Clemson doesn't just beat them. They win by 25 or something like that. I think then the talk would shift from you can't leave SMU out just because they lost their conference title game. You can't punish them for doing that. It could shift from that to, man, they got blown out. Like, Bama's a better team than them. You got to put Bama in. At this point, you got to just put the best team in. I could see that happening. Could see that happening. Don't advocate for it, but could see it happening. So one more thing that I wanted to point out. Let's keep this on the screen, Bradley. Bradley coming off the bench tonight. Director Collins in Florida for signing day. Good luck, Bradley. Don't screw up. We're live. So the rankings right now. Oregon's 1, Texas is 2, Penn State's 3, Notre Dame's 4, Georgia's 5. I hear the phrase SEC bias every hour of every day this time of year. I can't sneeze on this show without someone saying, sounded like an SEC sneeze to me. Most of it's foolishness. But I do want to ask someone, does Big Ten bias exist? I just need to check. I may get a cease and desist from CBS by the time the show's over because we gotta deal with Big Ten. But I just want to ask, does Big Ten bias exist? Because I'm looking at Ohio State get embarrassed by Michigan, and they don't fall past Tennessee. This may very well cost Tennessee a home game in the playoff, depending on how it shakes out. Big Ten bias, is it real? Indiana's not only in the playoff, they're comfortably in the playoff. Big Ten bias, does it exist? Now, of course, if you are of sound mind, you're arguing back at me now. That's not bias. That's just the way it's supposed to work. Yeah, I know that's the way it's supposed to work. You're making my point for me. So, a lot still to figure out, but not nearly as much to figure out this coming Saturday as maybe you thought there would be to figure out if you were predicting all this in August. Because really, we're looking at the ACC championship game, and then how far do you fall if you lose your conference title game? We're looking at if UNLV is able to beat Boise, then that means a lot. But really, it's a really good day for Alabama, probably much better than they could ever hope to be in position for. So that's where we are right now.